You know that feeling right before a much anticipated product launch?
Oh, yeah,
That kind of electric buzz of marketing campaigns ramping up. Everyone's waiting for the big reveal.
definitely.
Well, what we're really digging into today is the absolutely critical groundwork, the stuff that happens before all that excitement, it's
Yeah.
what we call the qualify phase.
Exactly. And it's like the essential bridge.
Yeah, the bridge, where a product fresh from the labs proves it's actually ready for the real world.
That's spot on. And for anyone who, you know, likes to understand the inner workings, how things really come together,
Mm-hmm.
and prefers like a dump understanding over just the headlines,
Yeah, us included.
this qualify phase is incredibly illuminating.
Mhm.
It's where the potential meets reality.
Faces its first real tests.
Right. And honestly, it's often the deciding factor between a launch that really takes off
Hmm.
and one that, well, maybe doesn't hit the mark.
Falls a bit flat.
Yeah. So we're going to break this down, look at the core components so you can see how successful products actually navigate this crucial time.
Without getting bogged down in jargon.
Exactly.
Keep it clear.
Couldn't agree more. So for this deep dive, we've got some really insightful material sources that really shine a light on this qualify phase.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And they define it either as like a distinct formal period in the life cycle or just a specific set of activities, but they're all geared towards one key goal, making absolutely sure the product delivers what it promised.
Before it hits the market full scale. That's the key part.
Absolutely. And to give us a clear roadmap, we're going to focus on three major groups of activities within this phase.
Right. And our mission here is really to unpack these three pillars: market validation, launch preparation, and the launch readiness assessment.
Get right into them.
Yeah, uncover the vital steps, the critical things to consider, really getting a product ready for a successful launch.
Understanding the engine room, basically. That's a great way to put it, the engine room of a launch.
Okay, let's get into this first big piece, market validation. This is basically about getting genuine feedback from the outside world, right?
Exactly.
Taking it for a test drive, controlled environment, real users.
That's it. And this typically involves, a beta test or some other kind of market testing.
Guided by the beta plan from the develop phase.
Precisely. Guided by that beta plan, which, just to remind everyone, outlines the strategy, the objectives for testing with real users.
Gotcha.
Now, the scale of these tests, it can vary a lot.
How so?
Well, you might have a small, really focused group,
Uh-huh.
maybe just a handful of testers giving intense feedback over a few weeks.
Okay.
Or you could have hundreds, maybe even thousands, using the product more naturally over several months.
Right, that makes sense. Different products, different testing needs. And the goals aren't just about functionality, are they? They seem broader.
Absolutely. Verifying core functions, usability, that's always key. But these tests give you invaluable insights into other things,
Like what?
like which marketing messages actually work. What's the right price? And even if your internal systems, like ordering or support, can actually handle the load when it goes live.
That's crucial.
It really is. And it's interesting, sometimes companies focus too much on just the bug fixes in beta,
Ah,
and they don't put enough emphasis on validating the value prop or the pricing, which, can lead to a product that works fine technically, but just doesn't sell.
ooh, good point. So beta gives you that holistic view. Now, the sources also mentioned something called a pilot. How's that different?
Think of a pilot as more than just a small beta. It's usually a complete end-to-end simulation of the launch process.
End to end.
Yeah, often with real transactions or real customer interactions,
Yeah.
but kept on a very limited scale. That's what makes it different from a beta, which might focus more on just feature feedback.
Okay, example.
Sure. In IT, a company might roll out a new internal system to just one department first.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pilot. They get detailed feedback on everything, usability, integration, the whole deployment.
And it validates the whole process.
Exactly. Plus, you might get some early adopters out of it, people who can vouch for it later.
Ah, I see the distinction now. It's like testing the whole system in miniature. And they also mentioned market testing in a specific geographic area, like a regional pilot.
Precisely. Imagine launching a new drink, but only in one city first.
Okay.
That lets you test every single part of the launch.
Yeah.
The product, the supply chain, the local advertising, the pricing sensitivity there, all contained.
Like a regional dress rehearsal.
Exactly. It minimizes the risk compared to just going national right away.
And then there's the soft launch. That sounds quiet.
A soft launch is similar, yeah, But the key difference is you deliberately hold back on major marketing.
Keep it low-key.
Right. You let the company assess how the product performs in the real world, gather initial adoption data, see how people use it organically, without that big marketing push skewing things.
Like opening the doors quietly before the grand opening.
Perfect analogy.
Now, through all this testing, beta, pilot, soft launch, what's the product manager doing? They're not just sitting back, right?
Oh, absolutely not. The product manager is really the orchestrator here.
Okay.
They define the goals, help design the tests, and they're deep in the feedback analysis. A project manager might handle logistics.
The nuts and bolts.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts. But the product manager is synthesizing results, spotting issues, making recommendations. And dev and test teams are involved too, obviously, fixing things.
So at the end of all this market testing, what's the big question? The one we absolutely need an answer to.
The core question, the reason you do all this, it really boils down to, based on the evidence, should we launch this product or not?
The big gonna go.
Exactly. It hinges on the data.
And what kind of warning signs might pop up during testing that would make you slam on the brakes?
Well, several things could raise red flags. You might find big gaps in functionality, or maybe the user experience is just way more confusing than expected.
Needs more work.
Right, which could mean more development. Maybe even going back to the develop phase for another round.
Ooh.
Yeah. Another critical area is the supporting infrastructure. If testing shows the sales channels aren't ready, or manufacturing can't keep up, or support is overwhelmed.
Big problem.
Huge problems.
Yeah.
And those might stem from things missed way back in the plan phase, like missing requirements.
Wow, uncovering those late sounds. Expensive. And what about just how customers react, the actual product itself?
That's paramount. Those success metrics we set for the tests, they're crucial.
Like satisfaction.
Satisfaction, yeah. Does it solve the problem? Would they recommend it? And then the really critical one, perceived value.
Do they think it's worth the price?
Exactly. Are they willing to pay?
Yeah.
And if we're testing marketing messages, are people responding, clicking, converting? If you miss those predefined metrics, that's a major signal to reevaluate the whole plan.
So it sounds like beta results aren't just like interesting feedback, they're fundamental to the launch decision.
Absolutely fundamental. They're a primary driver. Our sources even detail, the specific inputs and outputs for a beta test, showing how structured and data-driven it really is.
It's not just a casual thing.
Far from it.
Okay, so we've put the product through its paces with market validation. Now we move to the second major bucket, launch preparation. This sounds like a lot of internal juggling.
That's a very good way to put it. Launch prep covers all those essential internal activities needed to actually bring the product to market.
Across different teams.
Yep. Marketing, manufacturing, operations, sales, customer support, and of course getting all the product documentation finalized.
Right. Let's dive into marketing launch prep first. I guess the launch plan from the develop phase is the starting point here.
It's the cornerstone, yeah. A big launch involves tons of marketing activities happening at the same time.
All needing to hit that launch date.
Exactly. So it needs serious coordination across marketing teams, often led by product marketing, maybe project manager, or marketing ops, sometimes external agencies too.
And where does the product manager fit in with all the marketing stuff?
The PM works really closely with marketing, making sure the messaging is right, that it reflects the value prop, aligns with the strategy.
Guidance.
Guidance, yeah. They might even help create some materials like sales tools or collateral. Often there's a product marketing manager who's the central hub for all product info marketing needs.
A key contact point.
Precisely.
So it's a real team effort. And I see here that the launch plan itself might get tweaked now based on market validation learnings.
That's exactly right. Those insights from testing or maybe feedback on system readiness from other teams, it might mean you need to update the launch plan.
Like adjusting the budget.
Or
timeline.
Or budget, or timeline, or even refining the KPIs you'll track after launch.
Yeah.
It needs to reflect the latest reality.
And what's the main goal here? The key thing that needs to be done by the end of marketing launch prep?
The ultimate goal is simple. All marketing deliverables are finalized, and all marketing channels are ready to go for launch day.
Website, ads, social media, PR, everything.
Everything. Lined up and ready.
All right, let's shift gears. Manufacturing and operations launch preparation. This is where it gets really tangible, right? Especially for physical products.
You've got it. For actual physical goods, this is about the manufacturing itself. Quality control, packaging, the whole logistics and supply chain setup.
Getting it built and shipped.
Exactly. For software, it's more about Setting up hosting, configuring servers, making sure the admin side is ready.
And services.
Services could mean getting equipment, hiring and training people, setting up the processes to deliver the service, and manufacturing especially can have long lead times, materials, production. You got to plan ahead.
Right. And it's not just making the thing, is it? It's all the systems behind it.
Absolutely critical. The ordering systems need to work, inventory management, fulfillment, shipping, payment processing, even the initial customer support systems need to be ready for new users.
So what's the product manager doing in all this operational detail? They're probably not like on the assembly line.
Generally, no. The PM usually acts as a subject matter expert.
Providing key info.
Yeah, product-specific info for the manufacturing and ops teams. Things like part numbers, configurations, making sure pricing is right in the systems, providing forecasts for planning.
An information source, a guide. But what if the product is really different from what the company usually makes?
Good question. If it involves new manufacturing processes or really different delivery methods, the PM often gets more hands-on.
More involved.
Yeah, working closely with those teams to troubleshoot, clarify things, maybe even suggest design tweaks to make it easier to build or deliver.
Okay. And just like with marketing, I assume there's a final check and update of the operational plans?
Absolutely. The functional plans for manufacturing and ops get updated. Any changes to deliverables, timing, costs, they get rolled up into the overall business case.
And the key outcome?
By the end, all the delivery systems should be prepped, tested, and ready to roll.
Got it. Okay, let's move to sales and channel launch preparation. Equipping the sellers.
Yeah.
Exactly. The initial thoughts on sales support usually come from the launch strategy, what product and marketing will provide. But in Qualify, the sales org gets much more active.
Preparing themselves.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the PM's involvement here really depends on how the product's sold.
That's a crucial point, yeah. If you've got a direct sales force, or maybe third-party partners, the PM or product marketing manager will likely work directly with them, training, giving them sales tools.
But if it's mostly online or retail,
then the PM might have less direct contact with individual reps. They'd work more with the teams managing those online or retail channels.
Makes sense. The sources mention a sales ops team helping create content. What kind of sales content are we talking about?
Oh, all sorts. Sales presentations, competitive analysis docs, product white papers, price lists, contracts, demos.
ROI calculator.
Yeah, even ROI calculators to help show the value. And often, the big finale is comprehensive sales training right before launch.
Arming the troops. And there might be a formal sales plan developed by sales itself. Yes. Often a detailed plan covering quotas, rollout phasing across regions or segments, how the sales force gets support, compensation, maybe special promotions for the new product.
And it's not just the internal team, right? What about external partners, retailers, developers?
Absolutely. If you sell through retailers or wholesalers, they need similar training and materials. And for software, if you have a developer program.
Docs, APIs.
Right. Documentation, APIs, maybe even a certification process. These partner programs can be pretty big efforts, sometimes needing their own product management focus.
Wow, lots of moving parts to get sales ready. And again, the main launch plan might need tweaks here based on new forecasts or costs.
Precisely. Always iterating based on the latest info. And the goal here, by the end, all sales channels are fully prepped and ready to sell effectively on day one.
Now, for products with lots of customer interaction, customer support launch preparation sounds absolutely vital.
It is absolutely critical. For many consumer products, support needs to be ready to handle questions and problems immediately.
Even for tech products too, right?
Yeah, even for technical products. Ensuring support staff have the knowledge and tools is key for a good customer experience.
And the product manager helps get the support team ready.
Yes, the PM usually works with support training leads, identifying what training materials are needed, what needs to go in the knowledge base.
Like a train-the-trainer approach.
Often, yes. That's efficient for getting knowledge out. The PM provides the core product info, but the support team usually builds and delivers the actual training.
And it's not just training people, right? What about their systems? Ticketing, knowledge bases?
Exactly. Those IT systems might need updates. Configuring them to handle the new product, track tickets properly, access the right info, maybe even admin access for troubleshooting, especially for online stuff.
So getting support ready is just as important as sales. And the support plan itself might need updates too.
Correct. Staffing levels, processes, resources needed any changes, feedback into the final business case. And the key deliverable, the entire support org is trained, equipped, and ready for launch.
Okay, last piece within launch preparation, product documentation delivery. This sounds like it pulls from both development and marketing.
That's right. Dev usually handles the technical docs for building and delivering the product.
But user guides and manuals?
User-facing stuff might come from dev or marketing or both. Depends on the product and how the company's set up.
And what kinds of docs are we talking about typically?
Oh, user guides, manuals, warranties, license agreements, install guides, tech specs, API docs for developers. You name it.
Tailored for different users.
Yeah, end users, admins, resellers, integrators.
Yeah.
Different groups need different info.
And if it's a global product, localization adds another layer.
Oh, absolutely. Translating docs, maybe even the software interface, into multiple languages, that's a significant effort. Needs careful planning.
And for physical stuff, you actually have to print it and get it in the box.
Exactly. Printing, putting it in the bill of materials, considering lead times. It all has to be ready for launch.
So even docs can impact the timeline. And like everything else, changes here can affect the main launch plan and costs.
Precisely. The goal is simple, though. All required documentation is done, translated if needed, and ready for distribution when the product launches.
Okay, wow. We've validated the market, prepped all the functions. Now we hit the final major activity group, the launch readiness assessment. This feels like the final check.
It is indeed. This is where you do a final update to the big business plan, pulling in everything learned during Qualify, and it all leads up to the formal decision. Do we launch or not?
Let's start with that business plan update. The sources say it's a culmination, maybe with some twists along the way. What kind of changes might force this final review?
Oh, lots of things could have happened. Market validation might have shown customer interest isn't quite what we hoped.
Lowering forecasts.
Exactly. Or maybe we had to tweak the value proposition based on feedback. Pricing might have changed due to competitors or what customers would pay.
Unexpected issues.
Yeah, maybe manufacturing hit a snag, affecting costs. Or external stuff happens. New competitor jumps in. Economy shifts.
I go the other way, too. Positive feedback.
Absolutely. Maybe early feedback is amazing, and we need to plan to scale up faster. All that needs to go into the final plan.
So taking all the latest data, making sure it still makes business sense, and a final risk assessment is key here, too.
Absolutely crucial. Last chance to spot any remaining risks, make sure mitigation plans are solid. It informs the launch decision and helps prepare for what might happen after launch.
And then, the moment of truth. The launch decision itself, the culmination of everything.
It really is. It's the ultimate outcome of all Qualify activities, based fundamentally on beta results and readiness checks from all the supporting teams.
Market testing results are a big indicator, you said.
Huge. If the product didn't hit its success criteria in testing, well, that leads to a very tough but critical decision point.
What are the options if testing didn't go as planned?
Well, you could still launch, but knowing there's a higher risk of failure, wasted money, maybe damaging the brand.
High risk.
Very. Or you could loop back to develop. More work, refinement. But that means delaying the launch.
Or the hardest one.
Or the toughest call. Cancel the launch. Terminate the project, even after all the investment. Sometimes cutting your losses is the smartest move long-term, despite sunk costs.
Wow, that's a high-stakes decision. What about the readiness checks from marketing, sales, ops, support? Do those ever lead to cancellation?
Typically, those don't lead to outright cancellation unless something is fundamentally broken and unfixable in time.
More likely delays. Or scaling back.
Exactly. Might need to delay the launch, or maybe launch on a smaller scale initially until issues are resolved. Sometimes minor functional gaps are known, and you launch with risk mitigation plans in place.
So the final business case needs to be really clear about any big changes, setting realistic expectations. And if the outlook is way worse than planned, you really have to reconsider pouring more resources in.
Precisely. Launching is just as big a decision, financially and reputationally, as deciding to develop the product in the first place.
Not taken lightly.
Definitely not. And it should really have the buy-in, the explicit consent from all the key functions involved. Everyone needs to be aligned.
So after all this intense evaluation and prep, what are the clear signals that say, okay, we're done with Qualified, time to launch? What are the exit criteria?
There are really three main ones.
Yeah.
First, you've met those market validation criteria you said earlier.
Check.
Second, the final updated business plan shows it's still viable, still a reasonable bet for success.
Check.
And third, all those critical supporting functions, marketing, sales, ops, support, they've all achieved launch readiness.
Got it. If all three are green.
Then it's time. Time to move into the launch phase itself.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful. It's just so clear that this qualify phase, even though customers never really see it,
Right, so behind the scenes.
it's absolutely fundamental. Validation, preparation, and that huge go-no-go decision, all based on evidence.
Absolutely. And for you, listening, if you appreciate understanding the why and how without getting lost in the weeds, grasping this qualify phase gives you, I think, a really valuable insight into product development, business strategy, how things actually get successfully to market.
Definitely. So here's something to chew on. Think about a product you use all the time, one you really appreciate.
Okay.
What unseen validation steps, what preparation do you now think might have been absolutely crucial for its successful launch? Think about the testing, the marketing readiness, the operational setup, the support.
All those pieces we talked about.
Yeah. It's kind of fascinating to consider all that effort happening behind the curtain, isn't it?